It's not about motivation. Winners need discipline. Wake up and win today. Discipline comes from within.
Boxing King Media in association with Box Raw. Sonny Edwards. Sonny, it's been a while. I don't think I've caught up with you since your last fight. How you been? You kept your name in the news as always, and I was just flicking through your Twitter. I think the last thing I saw was EasyJet, but we'll come on to that in a second.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'm fuming at EasyJet a little bit, I'll be real, but I'm back now, so less. Do you know, like when you're in transit, any disruption, for me, I don't know, it burns my head a little bit, but yeah, EasyJet, the only person I can blame. So, yeah, we're back now, so we're all good. I don't really mind him as much now.
Good stuff, man. You made it back safe. In fact, before I even touch on your last fight, I know you've just been in Amsterdam with your lovely lady. Did you get up to much? You know, did you see the lovely sights of Amsterdam?
Yeah, I saw some aliens and some UFOs and some cartoons. Nah, I'm joking. It was a good time. You know, a little vacation, get me refreshed. A little city break. I don't know what you want to call it, but yeah, it was a nice time. Enjoying myself.
Good stuff, man. We'll kind of rewind a little bit back. I know you've done a few interviews since. I won't go into great detail, but obviously your fight against Bam Bam. Have you guys spoken since? I know there's been a few tweets publicly, but have you guys had any private DMs or messages?
Oh, nah, not since like a little quick nod of approval after. Yeah, no, I'm just looking on what's next. I'm not going to dwell. It was a big fight. It was a great event to be a part of. Obviously, not the result I had wanted, but you know, I think I'm in a great position with my career. I feel like I'm already in conversations for quite a few, you know, big fights. I think at my weight, it's kind of hard to make a name for yourself, but you know, the silver lining of that is when you do, you become a big part of the division, you know, a bigger part than some others. So, yeah, I think I should be able to get busy, get some good fights, trying to go straight for world titles, big fights. I didn't lose any confidence after that fight, during that fight. So I don't think I need to go and gain any confidence or momentum now. I feel like, you know, give me a training camp, 10, 12 weeks, and I'll, the same as before, I fought Bam. I wanted to fight the best. I still want to fight the best, so it's the biggest fight and the best event that my name can get me in. I'm hopefully looking forward to sort of having like a little homecoming, as it were. Coming back to Sheffield. I've only fought once before, and it was, you know, a big event. He was there, and one of the best nights of my boxing career so far. So that's what I'm really put on big for pushing. Try and get Matchroom and Eddie to let me headline in Sheffield and see what I do with it, because I feel like that's where I can show people that I'm, you know, the biggest draw.
Well, you touched on about being a draw and being a name and trying to bring attention to your fights. I don't know if you're aware or not. Obviously, when we create social media content, we keep an eye on the numbers that the fights bring. Your fight did some crazy numbers. I remember all the reels and everything we put out. The stuff was doing in the millions. And I think the last time we had them kind of views were Haney Prograis, which was obviously a bit of a crazy build-up. But that kind of shows the eyes you brought on the flyweight division. And I don't think even heavyweight fights sometimes get them sort of numbers. I don't know if you saw that. Like, I think your Wayne video that I did from the face-off, that did like 1 million views.
Yeah, I don't look at them stuff too much. I think I actually end up looking at them more for the fighters that I work with rather than myself. But I definitely felt the magnitude of an event bigger than what I've had before. Yeah, I don't feel like I've been involved in a... That's annoying me, that phone call.
Is it yours?
No.
We're in the changing rooms. Somebody's left their phone in here. I think it's in the ladies next door.
That's not the ladies. That's actually the squad session. That's the squad change room. Sorry, the pros. This is the amateurs, and then you got the ladies down the other end of the gym, separate away from us animals up here. Now I'm only messing, but yeah, what was we saying? Yeah, I felt like the magnitude of the fight and event was apparent, and yeah, like I said before, I was glad to be a part of it, and I think it's also put me in a good light. Okay, I didn't win, but not every loss is always just a loss. I feel like in some ways it was, you know, a big stepping stone in my career. I feel like a lot more eyes, a lot more attention, a lot more build up. A great fight as well, really. I feel like the action was a fight that someone would go back and want to watch again and again. So yeah, I feel like I turned a corner in some ways, and I feel like I'm looking forward to seeing what that can open up for me. I feel like maybe now people will be quicker to fight me. Now I've shown that I can be beat and I can be hurt and yada yada at flyweight. So you know, there should be a few more willing opposition, where before anyone that ever had anything worth protecting, they kept it away from me. Every fighter that really had anything, any sort of platform, any sort of promotion, any sort of build up behind their name, before bam, they would never fight me. I was sort of always fighting people that didn't really have nothing else, and I was probably a good offer for them in the grand scheme of things. So hopefully now, yeah, I can be a part of the big events and keep pushing on. Like I said, I just want to be a part of big fights, big nights. Win, lose or draw, I prepare for a fight. I apply myself honestly and the best I can. And then when I get in the ring, I give it my all. I feel like that's the only expectation of a boxer, and hopefully my skill and my heart and my toughness, etc. Hopefully I'll win. Hopefully I'm the winner. But before that, I owe it to boxing. I think fighters owe it to boxing. I think we really do to keep the sport thriving, because we have one of the most entertaining, raw, brutal sports, hardest endeavors. And sometimes, you know, you've got 500 people watching two people fight for their life, and you've got 20,000 people watching people throw darts at a dartboard. You know what I mean? But a lot of the time, okay, sometimes there's a little bit of a saturated market, but it's more because people are sick and tired of going to shows and seeing 8 one-sided fights. Do you know what I mean? It's annoying. Like, I don't even want to call people out personally, because it's been going on for so long that it would feel unfair to. Do you know what I mean? You call one person out now to something that happened on like the weekend, but it's been happening for so long that it almost seems very unfair to. But when I'm seeing big punching fighters that have won championships and okay, might have lost at championship level and coming back, but you're putting them in boxing rings with people physically way inferior, physically incapable of having a competitive fight with this person, and everyone knows it, and then we're seeing big knockouts in the first or second round over and over again, yeah, in these 6 and 8, 10 rounders, one-sided mismatch fights, yeah, against people just having a little run out. But it's dangerous. You know you're putting someone. Yeah, okay, they might be a journeyman from a different country. Doesn't mean they're not a human being. Like, and not only that, it kills the events. It's fights that shouldn't even bother happening. It's like, I don't know, I just hate it. I just hope I never have to buy into that sort of, that career move. I always just want a proper fight. Like, if not world level, okay, let's drop down to European level. If not European level, let's drop down to international level. If not international level, let's drop down to British level. Like, just give me a proper fight somewhere, at least, like, somewhere. Okay, I might be the favourite. Okay, yeah, whatever. Like, but fucking hell, man, it's out of order. Like, I don't get how people get happy for it. Like, reposting videos of them knocking out like an absolute, like, someone smaller than them, lost 90% of their fights, been stopped before, like, wearing Sports Direct shorts, like.
I'm going to come back onto that. I just want to ask you one other thing, because you kind of went off from talking about yourself to ranting about matchmaking. In fact, we'll wrap this matchmaking thing up. You know, from speaking well, the matchmaking thing, I speak to a lot of promoters, and one of the things they always tell me is that the British Boxing Board are always knocking opponents back. They're knocking the British guys back, and then they have to bring in people from abroad, and then I know the cost of tickets, etc. There's a lot of implications that go on behind the scenes to make these kind of fights. But do you think, is it down to the promoter, the manager, or the fighter himself yourself, because I know the fight you're talking about is Mark Efron's, from the weekend, where he got a really big knockout win. Who is ultimately to blame, or whose decision should it be to say, right, I'm too good for this guy if I can't fight this guy? But let's just say he can't even get a fight. So it's a bit of a weird. There's a lot of implications in there. I don't know.
Yeah, but I feel like the board never knocked back 50-50 fights, and the board knocked back like a world level fighter, British level fighter, an international level fighter fighting like an area level fighter. That's the ones the board knocked back, fights that shouldn't happen. But then what happens is it's a lot easier for someone from Bulgaria or Georgia to, okay, they may have had 15 fights and won 13 of them and lost 2. Or they might have just had someone somewhere write down like 7, 8, 9 fights that never happened on their record. And they just made someone up, and then there's a record that looks good. Like, how do we know? Because sometimes the people that come over here don't look like their record, like they've fought against anybody, let alone won however many times. Okay, sometimes their records are just that of losses, but even then, I feel like the board don't knock back enough of the mismatches. I feel like once you're a professional boxer, even if nothing else but record, things should look quite similar. Okay, there can be the standout ones where someone's coming up and like 3-4-0 and they're getting fast tracked, etc. I get that. But then you look at, okay, look, they've got good amateur pedigree or they're showing good promise, whatever. But I'm just sick and tired of seeing like fights that are just 99-1. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, at any point, no, they should never happen. If you lose, drop down a clear level and fight someone there, someone that's coming up, or someone that's trying to like save and see, like do something worthwhile, do something proper for the event, for the fans, for their career, for everything. Why are you going for a camp to go and just fucking flatline someone in a small hall? Like, okay, you might need a win, but like, well, that rule shouldn't exist then. Then we point to the governing bodies, the need a win thing. Like, if a fight makes sense and can get made and someone's of a certain level, a loss shouldn't be that defining where you need to go and just beat anyone. No matter who it is, bringing someone from the street, never fought before, you put them down in 30 seconds. But now you can fight for a title because you've had a win. Like, don't make sense.
I think it's a big debate. Let's see where it ends. I'm not sure it'll get fixed anytime soon. One of the other things I want to speak to you about, I don't think anyone's asked you this. Your fight kit from the last fight. Obviously, you went with the Matrix theme, but a lot of people want to see all the secret codes that you had in the kit. There were loads of messages, stuff that was personal to you. Do you want to share some of them?
If you didn't see him, you didn't see him. And if you did see him, you might not have seen him because they might have been accident. I didn't put every letter on there. So there were some letters that I didn't put on there. So
I remember seeing your son's name and a few other stuff on there, but he's saying it was just all done randomly.
Oh yeah, it's the Matrix, isn't it? It was like moving. It actually was such a high quality material that it was actually moving, and people didn't see it. You know what I mean? You couldn't really pick up on the cameras.
Well, the pictures are on your Instagram. I urge if anyone wants to have a look and see if they can crack any codes. We don't want to get you cancelled or anything like that.
Yeah, especially not right now. There's some real strange times going on there in the wider world.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean. You got to be very careful of what you say today.
You definitely do, Sonny. So to quickly touch on your fighters, and you spoke about Visioli. I hope I said his name right. He's quite a couple of mad knockouts. Ishmael Davis, who you work with as well. I'll start with Ishmael, actually. Just seen the British Boxing Board have ordered him to fight Junaid Boston, and I saw you exchanging a tweet with somebody the other night. Is that going to happen? Would you want that to happen if he beats Troy?
It depends. Obviously, I'm in the business of Ishmael. In these conversations, I'm a very, very, very close friend of Junaid. He's like my little brother, training partners, but I'm not his manager. I'm not involved in his management. So in certain conversations, it's just in the business of Ishmael. I know Junaid understands that. It's a fight that I think at some point in the career, for both of them, will probably make a lot of sense to the point that people are like demanding it. I think that's going to happen. I think they're both that good. I think they've both got that bright enough futures. They're on the same platform and their cities are 40 minutes away from each other and they're fighting the same way. So I think at some point, that probably will be it. However, English eliminate, I think both of those fighters are better than the English champion, Lee Cutler. I don't think Lee Cutler would fight either of them after they fought each other anyway. I think he would vacate. But it depends. Right now, obviously, before that got ordered, Ish had already sorted, his second fight on the Matchroom card. You know, creeping up the bill in a proper fight against a former champion, former GB fighter, Troy Williamson, who's very, very close to me as well. Like I'm a good friend of Troy, but you know, when we get to this level, we're talking about people's lives here and their livelihood. So it's boxing, it's business, it's not personal. I wish Troy and his team nothing but the best in camp and the build up of the fight. I've got a lot of respect for Troy deeply as a person. Obviously, for this fight. Ishmael was my fighter. I'm behind Ishmael 100%. Want him to perform well and you know, really catch attention, because I feel like he deserves it. The amount of work he's put in from where he's come from, and it's a great card as well. I'm really looking forward to it, and I think. But what people like, I've been surprised. I was expecting. Oh, I can't believe Ishmael's taken that fight. Oh, that's a big step up. Ish taking that fight. Oh, he's the underdog-ish, taking that fight. But it's kind of been weird. Like, everyone that's speaking to me, I don't know if they're just speaking to me because, and they're saying it to me because I'm on his side, I'm behind him. But I think a lot of people are confident that Ish is going to win this fight. They think it's going to be a competitive fight. But I think a lot of people are, I don't want to say rooting, picking, that's the word, sorry, picking Ish. And I think it's a great fight, but I think hindsight, like, Ish has only just broke out. You know, his last fight was his hardest fight, and it wasn't the hardest fight. He didn't have no GB background. Whilst Troy was traveling the world with me on GB, Ish was in a very, very different position. You know what I mean? So
I spoke to him. He was in and out of prison.
So, you know, without dry snitching, you know what I mean? So
we did an interview, and he spoke about it quite openly. I think it's quite commendable that he's fighting a guy with such an amateur pedigree, whilst obviously he was in a time in his life where obviously he was struggling to make the right decisions, and now it's amazing what he's done in a short space of time, and he's jumping straight into a fight with Troy Williamson.
Yeah, and it's the sort of mentality that I can really get behind. And like I said, if you take, okay, and maybe Troy isn't the fight he was a few years ago, maybe that's the argument, but he's been in against consistently good fighters, so like, it's easy to start drawing levels, but you never really know until they get in the ring how good someone is. They might have been not as good on that night before when we've seen him, etc. But Troy, we know he's a championship fighter. He's been a champion. He's got some big knockouts on big platforms. He's a well-built fighter. Okay, he's now coming back off a couple of defeats. Josh Kelly, Kevin Ajiako, the more recent ones. Mason Cartwright, yes, he did hurt him in that fight, but he still come through it on one. Harry Scarf, close. So, okay, it might be easy to, you know, start trying to position Troy, but we've seen him do it time and time again. Like, in even his last fight, he was tough. He started building some momentum, then he seemed to slow down, and then he tried coming on, but it seemed like he just couldn't make it happen against Ajiaka. But it was a good fight, good competitive level as well. So, Ish is coming from, you know, really the small hall circuit. But he spent the last 4, 5, 6 years, ever since I've known him, traveling up and down the country, sparring anyone, anywhere, anywhen, at any weight, by the looks of it. I mean, he's a middleweight, and he was going and sparring Lyndon, helping him prepare for fights. And Lyndon was always telling me, oh, he's a good fighter, and then he became our friend, and then I signed him that way. Well, we started working together. I don't make my fighters sign anything, but we started working together through that.
Just for the record.
Nah, just for the record, because do you know what it is? Because I'll be real, any fighter that works with me, I will do my utmost for them. But I'm in a stage right now where, you know, I'm not a full-time boxing manager. I've also got my career. So, you know, I've got my process of how I get them the opportunities and get it working. But if at any point in the year, a fighter doesn't think I'm the best for them and they would prefer someone else doing what I'm doing, all I ask is they tell me that day so I'm not a busy fool. Like, I don't do this for my ego. I don't do this for money. And I'll be real, every single fighter that I've had has come to me and asked me, if that makes sense. I've not tried convincing anyone.
I think I definitely get your point, and I'm going to speak to Ish hopefully before his fight, and I urge any fans to follow his journey because he's an intriguing character, and hopefully I'm going to catch him up very soon. Quick touch on Visioli, another knockout. How on earth are you going to match him next?
Oh, I think Matchroom are the best at in the game. Tom Dallas, a tremendous matchmaker, and like, when you're that weight and you're coming through, remember he's a young fighter, he's showing promise, but you know, he's also getting a lot of attention. So, you know, there's a little target on his head already. It's about keeping his feet on the ground. Every fight needs to get a little bit harder. A little bit harder. Especially when he's performing like that. I thought that the first one was going to give him a 3 rounds. A 3-on-1 kid, he's gone there, he had like, I don't know, like a 6 or 8 round international belt from another land. So he's had something, and he'd only lost once. It took him out in 1 minute. Didn't make a mistake, didn't get caught with a shot for me. Second fight, he got through the first round, the kid, but he caught him a couple of good shots, the exact same shot that he caught the first lad with. And then in the second round, he relaxed a little bit, and again. So I thought the second one was going to give him a few rounds. What was he, 4-2? So he's not like he's picking a 0-28 kid. He's a 20-year-old, 1-0, 2-0 kid, fighting people with winning records. Okay, no one's trying to convince you they're world beaters, but for a 4-rounder and a 6-rounder, it's a decent level. The other kids coming to win, big show, trying to make some noise, trying to change their career from a small who might have lost a fight to now come in and, you know, beating a prospect that's getting built up and getting loads of attention. So that's the way to matchmake. Give them each little steps. A little harder than the southpaw. You know, then someone that might, you know, be a bit stronger, or hit a little bit harder, or hold his feet, or don't stop punching, keep going. Like, just little styles, little looks to give them different problems, so that by the time they've gone through 5, 10, 15 professional fights, they're actually a fighter of some substance. You give someone, like, the worst thing really for us right now is if that Giorgio gets 15 of these first, second round knockouts. That would be the worst, because he's cheating himself by his ability and the matchmaking. It's a balancing act, but he's cheating himself off the experience, you know, the actual in the ring, learning on the job, hand hurting in the third round, having to adapt, or maybe switch southpaw, getting a cut in your eye and it being quite bad, and having to go through what it's like to have your cut man on it, making sure you're comfortable and confident with your cut man that you keep using. There's loads of things that you want to get to before you get that night where it's like, okay, this is where you go change your life. This is where you walk through the doors. This is where once you go through these doors, if you win, there's no going back. That's when you want to be in a complete fighter. It's not about just building up a impressive knockout real highlight and 15-0 first round knockouts because that makes him look like the best fighter in the world. It couldn't be further from that, because that usually just inflates and builds ego, and ego fighting in the ring, especially confused ego, is usually a quick way to get knocked out. And I think Giorgio, he's got his feet on the ground. Anyone working with a fighter as a trainer, as a promoter, a manager, a physio, anything, I genuinely think he's one of the, you know, A1 blue chip top prospects. He's a tremendous talent. He's heavy-handed. His reactions and his footwork are up there, trust me. And not only that, he just lives the life. He's a lifetime child athlete come up through. He doesn't really party. I don't think he parties. He doesn't really drink. I don't think he drinks. Like, he's genuinely... I've just thought, go home, have like a little bit of food, not put on weight, and Florian, it's not always about you, Florian. And then straight back in it. When am I fighting next? He actually, people don't know this, yeah, so I'm hoping I'm speaking out of turn, but obviously it's past now, so it shouldn't matter. He actually got offered, from when he got that last win, a fight 2 weeks, in 2 weeks, when actually Spider boxed, who's off camera right now to me, when Spider boxed down in London, and he said yes straight away, boom, didn't even hesitate. He just got out of the ring. He just flown back from Belfast, got offered it. But then it moved around, Sheffield, and I think Craig Richards, Spider number 2, went on it in instead. But what I'm saying is, Giorgio went, fought, and then was ready to fight 2 weeks later, as if it was like that ABA quarterfinals, semi-finals, and finals.
I'm going to cut you off because I think you've sold him enough.
It's the truth, though.
Yeah. I've got to touch on the Samba as well, just in short, because we ain't got a lot of time. Just tell me, is he going to defend that belt again, or are we going to try and get him like a world title level type fight next?
Well, he's broken into the top 15 with the WBC, which we're grateful for. In some ways, I feel like anyone that's been a European champion and defended it once would probably be higher than a 15. I don't know if we're looking at normally how things go, but hey, this is it's a more unique sort of career of Thomas Assom. You don't normally get a 12-8 European champion. You know what I mean? So we're with Thomas, buzzing for him to have defended his title last time out. Close fight, hard fight. I thought he just deserved it. I thought it was a fight of two halves, and I thought he nicked one of the last rounds with his boxing. So I had it 7-5 to Thomas. They were complaining and being really bitter, which was disgusting, to be honest. Like the actual story about that fight, of why it happened, why it didn't happen months before. It was meant to happen in France. We agreed. They never sent a contract. They never even booked a venue. They never put up a fight poster. 3 weeks out, we've had a man in camp for 10 weeks to champion, and then they say, oh, something's happened. We'll schedule for 4 months' time. So what did we do? We put straight into the European Union, the board, the EBU, sorry, and we requested it go back to purse bids because of the lack of professionalism by the other side. It did get put to purse bids, and we won the purse bids. We did, and it ended up on a GBM show. Because it was close to us and our home. So we put that on. Conky left with money in his pocket on the night of the fight, and I don't know what is wrong with him and why he can't show some class or decorum in defeat. You understand? Like he showed none in a very close fight. And what's annoying, of course he had loads of energy in the last 4 rounds. He didn't throw nothing apart from a jab in the first 6. He didn't throw a thing. Like, people are skewing like the fact that he didn't do anything. He was just stepping in, trying to pop a jab and nick the round, was not trying to get caught, and was always getting caught with a few shots. So absolutely buzzing for Assom. We'll forget Conky now, the ungrateful fuckers. I won't work with them, their team. Nothing. Very, very, very ungrateful. And I did quite like his work and liked him as a fighter, and he seemed all right until he got on the internet and started. But, you know, people's surroundings, they dilute their ego and inflate it. But yeah, definitely sorry. We've got some offers on the table of people, you know, trying to make fights with Thomas. Obviously he had a little bit of break, and now we're sort of sitting down and having a look. I know there's a few interested parties. Obviously you got Chris Bork, who's coming through the ranks, even my brother, who is interested in the fight. Paul Butler has been made Thomas Assomba's next mandatory, but he's not been called yet. We've got a voluntary defence first. But look, we're open to talking to whoever. Really, it's about delivering for the fighter. It's about, really, if we're being honest, what opponent's promoter believes in them the most to make this fight happen, and is the most professional and most realistic to work with. But you know, we're open to work with anyone. You know, Thomas is very much a have gloves will travel. You know, he's been in this country now 12 years since the 2012 Olympic Games, and I think he's in probably the best position of his boxing career and probably life since.
Because it's relevant, Ngannou's fighting in a couple of weeks' time. If people talk about Ngannou's life story, they should look into Assomba's life story. I did like a 30-40 minute interview with him. If they search it on the channel, it's a good little background on his upbringing. And that win over Conky was a really good win. Conky, if you watch his highlights, the guy can really fight. So that was that.
And people forget it was a 2016 Olympian, and to get to the Olympics from Europe is a hard task. It's not easy done. So shout out to Conky, but he just weren't good enough on the night. So
just last 2 things. One question: do you know who was the first boxer to be a world champion with the Indian origin?
No comment.
I'm going to ask you anyway. Obviously, you don't have to respond to it, but obviously, your old arch nemesis, Prince Patel, won an IBO world title in, I think it was Ghana. Did you watch the fight, and any thoughts and opinions on that fight? I think I think won it a bantamweight, I think it was. Still an ongoing thing going with Isaac Lowe. I don't think there's been any back and forth between you guys since months, I think.
No, I don't care. I don't care. Seriously, I couldn't care less about anything he does. Anything.
Well, we'll leave it at that. And then last thing on yourself, you had some beef with Nonito Donaire recently. Obviously, it's an unrealistic fight looking at the weight differences. But what is next for Sonny Edwards? Give me like a couple of names that you think that are realistic for you.
No, that's serious.
Yeah.
Like Nonito Donaire is a fight I'd 100% explore.
What weight would you fight him at?
Bantamweight.
Okay.
Yeah, bantamweight. I wouldn't ask a 41-year-old to come down back to where he was when he was like 25. But he used to be a flyweight. Okay, he's been a bit bigger, but I'm a lot bigger than flyweight right now. Like I said before, events is what I'm after. Like, not just find like people will think I'm just chasing like money. I'm not. Like the biggest events should be the biggest fights. Like, especially at these
Recent
weights.
fights have been good fights, have been close fights, and he only got stopped by Inoue, so it's worth highlighting that. But is there any legs on that? Have any talks happened?
So I'm waiting to really sit down on our side. He said, look, if I'm interested, send him an offer over. Look, yeah, he's maybe past it, maybe his age, but he's also shown that he's also got a lot of fiery performances still in him and a lot of fire still in his belly. Nonito Donaire, he's a great fighter. Someone that I've looked up watching since I was a kid, as you can imagine, at these weights. I mean, okay, I'm a big Rogondo fan, so obviously that was a big night for me when he beat Nonito Donaire. That was his kind of breakout in the professionals. Obviously, I knew him from the amateurs. So yeah, I would love the chance to share a ring with a fighter like that. Look, he was a flyweight for so many years. He can't be like he used to be able to make this weight. So yeah, he's now 41. I don't know. The way I'm looking at it in my head is, yeah, okay, it might be a few weights above, and I was kind of maybe looking at going down or staying the same. But is a 41-year-old Donaire as dangerous as a 23, 24-year-old Bam? I don't know. I don't think so. I'd like to find out.
Judge his recent form, like I said, he's got size on you, and he got stopped by Inoue. Do you know what I mean? Which most fighters, in fact, every fighter has done.
Yeah, and before that, he had a fucking good fight with him, and done his eye a little bit. I know what that's like. No, but like I said, big events, and you know, if not now with someone like Nonito Donaire, he's not going to be there for much longer. He's in great shape, and like I said, I only made a comment.
Don Dalton, 2 minutes. He's pissed off.
I said I only made a comment.
Yeah.
Because, you know, his missus was absolutely hounding me on Twitter, like, kept tweeting. So I just said, look, if you tweet me one more time, I'm going to think you're, like, trying to get my attention, like, you're hitting on me. Like, what else can I think? Like, why have I got a woman in my Twitter so much? You know what I mean? So all I said was that, jokingly, and then he said, look, if you want to fight, after a little back and forth. But at the same time, go on YouTube, type Sonny Edwards or Nonito Donaire, there's videos, boom, 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 loads about it. Because they love their boxing, and I think it's a big fight. So,
Well, I'll be honest, I'll be intrigued to watch that because I think it's a good fight because you both kind of balance each other out with the size difference and experience, etc. So, Sonny, appreciate your time. I think we've done 30 minutes, but your fighters will appreciate the amount of plugging you done for them today, and I'll catch you soon.
yeah, man, a shout out also to Nikolai Campbell for his return. And I'm also looking forward and really excited about Edward Hardy. The farm boy. I'm really excited about his career, and you know, I'm gonna try use my leverage and muscle him on one of my undercards because I feel like he's had a frustrating start to his professional career. He should have had a debut by now, but he's just getting over the line now. So yeah, hopefully have some news for both of those fighters as well in the near future.
Sonny Edwards, thank you for your time.
I got a question for you. Where can discipline take you? Discipline points you toward your goals.